So, you've heard these terms before, and this is really trying to visually show what we're trying to do. I've talked about power in markets, women's economic leadership you're familiar with, and climate change adaptation and risk reduction. So if you click. So GEM is really just trying to pull together these three into a formal comprehensive framework. So for anybody who's been working on and for instance in the last few years hasn't spoken to Isabel, who's been working on climate change issues, well, now's the time you should probably be speaking to her, because your program should be including or considering what the impacts are of climate change, and I recognize her title will change to resilience in a number of months. But that's a key aspect. If you do your analysis, how could climate change or other factors have an influence and impact on your program work? Thinking through those processes. What if something goes wrong? What are unforeseen or potentially unforeseen factors that you should consider in your program design? So I'm going to go over 4 points that I think that, although I've said that some of these components aren't new, they're really just trying to bring them formally together into one framework. I will talk about some of the things that might feel a bit new. So building on your own experience. Putting together lessons learned, not making up something new. That's really just, the difference there is that you should become more comfortable and understand why you would want to talk to people with a private sector background, people with a climate change adaptation background, people with a more power analysis background. So various actors, both within Oxfam, but also partners, your partners on the ground, and you might, in that process, realize that you're not talking to some of these people, and that you need to reach out and look for more partners within your country context who can help support you in the program design. Multidisciplinary, that's something very similar. It's simply the idea of the breaking down silos, that yes, you should remain a specialist in your area, and that's your area of expertise, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be comfortable with talking about some of these other aspects, such as the resilience components, the climate change components, such as becoming more comfortable, even though your background might be working with women and women smallholders, that you should become comfortable with the notion of, I want to talk to a buyer or a processor of agricultural products and understand what their needs are from a business point of view. Because, and furthermore, that you could help encourage some of the smallholder groups and women's groups that you work with to also engage in that conversation, so they start to get a better understanding of what the demands are within a market context. Direct and indirect interventions. With GEM, there's the idea that yes, obviously, a lot of the methodology is training the trainers, working in a very specific context. That's something that we want to maintain. We always want to be able to see what types of impact we will be having in specific communities. Because a lot of those, when we really show clear success, can really be the most convincing examples to governments, to other donors, to business practitioners, that what we have here is not just a great conceptual idea, but it's something that works as well. And plus the fact, then you can start to make leveraging points. You can take that to policymakers or other organizations in the country or internationally to say, here's how we've made this work, here's how it's something that's become sustainable. We have a clear case study. Oh, and by the way, here's all the tools that we've used as well. And what I mean by direct and indirect intervention is that the direct intervention is working with those communities, but the indirect intervention is taking that knowledge and starting to spread it around more broadly. Take that case study example, take the experiences and the difficulties and how you overcame those difficulties during the program, I take it as my responsibility, along with others in Oxfam House, to be able to capture that knowledge in something concise and something that we can help spread around in a community of practice, both at regional and at global level. And so an indirect intervention is really just to say we're trying to improve the operating environments for smallholders, not just the ones that we're working with directly. Pre-commercially viable. Our programs really vary a lot all over the world. Some of them are working in very fragile contexts that we've been talking about within this resilience component, or this resilience discussion. Others we've been working for a number of years, or we've engaged with some rural communities that have an idea, that have something that could really work, and all they need is to get some advice on training on how to make a business plan, on how to connect with some of the right buyers or processors, or how to further develop their whatever idea it is that they have. That's two completely different levels, and GEM's initiative is trying to be flexible in engaging with those different types of experience to be able to help them to climb that ladder. So we're not starting at a baseline. It's not like if you don't work with a community that has all this skill set that that you can't engage with them. No, it's just recognizing that it starts at a more basic level, which is to say something pre-commercial. You have to build capacity. You have to establish cooperatives. You have to build the power within that local community before taking it to, say, a market partner. I'm going to give a couple of examples of these at the end. I have 2 case study examples to give you a more concrete idea of what some of these things mean.